I never imagined that my first performance of The Drunken Concubine would be met with a chorus of boos from the audience.
Why is this effeminate person even participating in the graduation ceremony? Get off the stage and make way for our street dance crew.
According to tradition, once an opera singer starts, they must not stop midway. I had studied under a late master for over a decade and naturally didn't want to break the rules. Moreover, I was wearing the most valuable and significant costume left by my teacher. Just as I calmed myself and prepared to continue, the boy and his team jumped onto the stage. The audience cheered loudly at their audacity.
It's James's street dance crew. He won awards abroad.
We're getting a free show. Why is that opera singer still on stage?
This is the taste of freedom. No wonder he's a star.
Listening to the chatter, I guessed the boy's identity. James had gone abroad as an exchange student shortly after enrolling. He had won street dance awards overseas and was a well-known figure on campus despite his absence. James and his group unapologetically blocked my way, forming a line in front of me. As I stared in shock, the music and lights switched to vibrant international pop. I was furious because the person controlling the music and lights backstage was my girlfriend, Emily. Amid the boos, I stormed backstage and stopped the music.
Emily, once an opera starts, it mustn't stop for anything.
Before Emily could respond, the street dance crew followed us backstage. James, leading the group, slapped me across the face.
You took our time and now you're causing trouble backstage.
I was about to retaliate when Emily held me back.
He's the eldest son of the James family. You can't afford to mess with him.
Emily then bypassed me and gently examined James's hand.
James, you've been abroad for so long, but you're still so impulsive.
I'm fine, Emily. Is this your opera singing boyfriend?
Even if I were naive, I understood their relationship at that moment. Shock and humiliation surged through me. I pushed past the people blocking me and confronted James.
You ruined my performance. Apologize.
James rolled his eyes disdainfully, but before he could speak, his team chimed in.
You want our James to apologize? Who do you think you are?
Who am I? This costume I'm wearing is worth more than your lives.
Everyone was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter.
Opera singers are all crazy. You probably can't even afford a meal.
That costume looks like it came from a trash can.
One of James's teammates circled behind me and snatched the phoenix crown from my head. Shocked, I tried to grab it back, but he quickly tossed it to James. I ran towards James, but he threw the crown to another teammate. Seeing my anxiety, they found amusement in tossing it around, laughing and taunting me. The room fell silent as I glared at them, my voice trembling with rage.
Who am I? This costume I'm wearing is worth more than your lives.
Everyone was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter.
Opera singers are all crazy. You probably can't even afford a meal.
That costume looks like it came from a trash can.
One of James's teammates circled behind me and snatched the phoenix crown from my head. Shocked, I tried to grab it back, but he quickly tossed it to James.
Give it back!
I ran towards James, but he threw the crown to another teammate. Seeing my anxiety, they found amusement in tossing it around, laughing and taunting me.
Enough. This is a phoenix crown left by the late Peking opera master May. It features traditional craftsmanship and a set of gold pearls. If anything happens to it, you can't afford to compensate.
At this moment, the crown had been thrown back to James. He disdainfully held up the crown, examining it under the light, and sneered.
Performers really do lose their minds. What's the difference between you and beggars? You're just here to entertain people. Pearls are supposed to be white, but these are gold. I bet they're just plastic beads painted over.
With that, he gave me a mocking smile and let go of the crown, letting it fall straight to the ground. Watching this, I could hardly breathe.
No.
This wasn't just any ordinary crown, it was my late teacher's most precious treasure. I was so angry that my legs trembled as I stepped forward, picked up the crown, and checked it. The gold filigree had been bent, and the pearls and jewels were scattered all over the ground. I held the crown tightly to my chest, fighting back tears as I squatted down to pick up the fallen pearls. At that moment, a pair of trendy shoes appeared in front of me, and a heavy foot kicked the pearls far away. With James leading, his dance crew started laughing and playing again. They rudely treated the South Sea gold pearls as toys, kicking them everywhere.
Stop. Please, stop.
I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. These were priceless treasures, and the artisans who made them had all passed away. The craftsmanship used on this crown could never be replicated. I grabbed James, who was standing in front of me provocatively, and shook him desperately.
Make them stop. Stop right now. This is a unique piece, and valuable.
Big words won't hurt your tongue, will they? You're just a poor student with no reputation. Do you even know what value means?
With that, he took the wallet Emily handed him and threw it hard at my head.
Trying to extort money, huh? Here, take the money and get your head checked.
My mind went blank, and I just wanted to tear apart the person in front of me. Just then, the school leaders arrived. The crowd immediately stopped their antics, but my tears had already ruined my makeup. I looked at the approaching teacher, my voice choked with sobs.
Mr. Smith, they.
Lucas, why did you turn off James's music? Do you know who he is?
I stared in shock.
He interrupted my performance first and broke my crown, damaging my pearls.
Oh, I'm so scared. Yes, I broke it. What can you do about it? I've already paid you. This is more than you could earn in a lifetime of performing.
Mr. Smith glanced at the crown in my hand.
It's not worth much anyway. Stop making a fuss. Everyone's waiting for James to perform.
I struggled to control my tears and stood up straight.
Mr. Smith, this is a school. Even if my crown is cheap, does that mean you can ignore the wrongdoing of a student?
Seeing me dare to talk back, Mr. Smith gave James a reassuring look. James stepped forward and crushed the scattered gold pearls under his foot. My heart shattered, and I collapsed to the ground, desperately pushing away James's leg.
No, stop.
The pearls on this crown were collected by an old collector over a lifetime. Each one was pure gold, flawless, and perfectly matched in size. If even one was lost, it might never be replaced. So much effort from previous generations now passed to me and destroyed in my hands. How could I ever make up for this? I knelt on the ground, frantically searching through the dirt. When I saw the pearls were intact, just dirty, I couldn't control myself and held them to my chest, crying loudly. My ruined makeup was smeared as I wiped my face, and under the night sky, I looked utterly miserable. The crowd watched me sobbing on the ground, momentarily stunned. Moments later, Emily's voice broke the silence.
Lucas, I know you like performing, but James is the young master of the James family. His art was learned abroad. No matter how much you pretend, you can't compare to James. Stop embarrassing yourself here. Get up, take your trash, and go home.
Her cold voice brought me back to my senses, and I glanced at each person in front of me.
You ruined my phoenix crown.
James squatted down indifferently, lightly patting my face with his hand.
It wasn't we, it was me. I ruined it. What can you do about it?
I took a deep breath and punched him hard.
I want you to spend the rest of your life in prison, filled with regret.
James cried out in surprise and fell to the ground. In a flash, Emily kicked me hard on the shoulder.
Enough. Lucas, take your trash and get out of here.
As she spoke, the classmates who had come to watch started gossiping.
I always thought Lucas was crazy. He dared to hit young Master James. His life is over.
Emily and James are such a perfect match. They're a golden couple.
Soon, a few classmates who were close to Emily stood in front of me, urging James.
Everyone's waiting. You guys should go on stage. We'll handle this small matter for you.
James gently touched his bruised cheek, spat out some blood, and said with a sinister tone,
Lucas, right? You dared to hit me. Just wait. I have an important performance today. After I'm done, I'll deal with you.
With that, he gave me a fierce look and quickly left with his teammates. I had calmed down by now. The most important thing now was to gather all the accessories and have the family mobilize people to find surviving craftsmen to repair the Phoenix crown. Thinking of this, I went to the changing room to take off the robe and, using my phone's light, slowly searched the ground. I didn't know how much time had passed, but I finally gathered all the scattered jewels. I sighed in relief, put the robe and crown into a box, and walked out of the deafening backstage to a quiet place to call my dad. After hearing my story, he was furious, but both he and my mom were out of town for a conference, so they could only send the butler to assist. After hanging up, I planned to take the items home first. But as soon as I returned backstage, I saw James wearing my robe and doing somersaults on the ground. I was so angry I almost fainted.
Who allowed you to touch my things?
James stood up when he saw me, looking at me unceremoniously.
Listen up. I'm the heir of the James family. Today, you ruined my performance and punched me. I ruined your trash too. It's fair.
He raised his eyebrows provocatively.
Let me tell you, Emily is mine. If you dare to flirt with her behind my back, you'll regret it for the rest of your life.
Emily stood beside James, looking at me coldly.
Apologize to James now, and we might forgive you. Otherwise...
Before she could finish, a male voice interrupted.
Otherwise, what can you do? Our young master's collection is priceless. You can't afford to compensate.
As the voice spoke, everyone's eyes turned to the person walking in. I breathed a sigh of relief standing in the crowd. Thankfully, the butler arrived in time. No matter what, this treasure wouldn't be destroyed by these fools. The butler frowned as he entered, seeing my tear-streaked, disheveled appearance, and angrily looked at the crowd.
Who gave you the guts to touch the heir of the Lucas family's belongings? Follow me, lawyers. Assess the damage immediately and call the police. No one who touched the young master's collection is to be spared.
James, seeing the tense situation, hurriedly retreated to the dressing room to take off his ceremonial robe. The legal team stood respectfully by my side, making way for the appraiser to examine the Phoenix crown. The appraiser carefully picked up the fallen crown, his brows furrowing deeply.
If I'm not mistaken, this is the work of the late master craftsman Hui Yuan, a priceless treasure. The complete set of gold pearls, and the traditional gold filigree craftsmanship.
He stood up angrily, glaring at the street dance team members who were huddled together.
How dare you treat such a precious item so carelessly? This crown is worth far more than billions, and its artistic and cultural value is immeasurable. You all will face severe consequences.
Seeing his furious expression, the students exchanged nervous glances and whispered among themselves.
Is this for real? James just said it was a pile of junk. How can it be so valuable?
These people don't seem to be faking it. They look really wealthy. But Lucas usually can't even afford branded shoes. How could he have something so expensive?
What's going on? This is so serious. I'm a bit scared.
I kept a stern face, silently watching James emerge from the dressing room, having taken off the ceremonial robe.
Hand the robe to the appraiser. Now let's see if you're facing a life sentence or something less severe.
James, intimidated by the serious atmosphere, didn't dare to retort. Instead, he walked over with a sullen face. But when he saw the butler standing by my side, his eyes suddenly lit up.
Uncle Michael, is that you?
Michael, who had been intently focused on my belongings, turned to meet James's gaze.
Young Master James, what a coincidence.
James quickly ran to Michael's side, frowning.
Uncle Michael, you scared me just now. Tell them, isn't Lucas just trying to scare us with some tricks?
Michael hesitated for a moment. James, however, warmly grasped Michael's hand.
Say something, Uncle Michael. My friends are all frightened.
The appraiser has already stated the value of the crown, James. You can't escape this.
To my surprise, Michael looked at James and spoke.
It's all a misunderstanding. Young Master James was startled.
Then he turned to me with a cold expression.
All right, Lucas, please stop harassing young Master James.
With that, he pulled the teary-eyed appraiser.
Let's go back.
Michael, are you crazy? Call the police immediately.
Michael awkwardly rubbed his nose and exchanged a glance with James.
Stop it, Lucas. You're parading around with a fake, trying to deceive people. Young Master James hasn't reported you yet, so consider yourself lucky. Take your things and leave. If you keep causing trouble, don't blame us for being unkind.
I stepped forward, blocking the door, glaring at Michael.
If you disobey my orders and leave with them today, you know the consequences.
A flash of panic crossed Michael's face, but he gritted his teeth and continued.
You're trying to scam young Master James with a fake. Your trick has been exposed. Don't make things worse.
With that, Michael pushed me aside and left with the group. I was overwhelmed by the series of events, but James and his dance crew didn't give me a chance to think. They surrounded me, each with a mocking expression.
Making such a fuss. Turns out you hired actors to scare us.
Good thing James has connections, or we might have been fooled.
These actors must be expensive. Is the money we just gave you enough? If not, I can give you more.
As they spoke, they started throwing small change at me. I was still in shock, but I knew it wasn't wise to face this group alone without support. What I needed to do now was find a heritage craftsman to repair the damaged costume and investigate the secrets Michael was hiding.
Once the police finish documenting the scene, I'll leave. We'll settle this later.
The police arrived quickly and began documenting the scene.
Can you hurry up? Emily and I have plans for a late-night snack.
You can go for your snack, but before you leave, do you dare to admit that you damaged the crown and take full responsibility?
I admit it, it was me. Even if this thing is valuable, I can afford to pay for it.
With that, he stood up disdainfully and pulled Emily away. The police tried to stop them, but I intervened. As long as he admitted it, let him be smug for a few days. I had more important things to do.
I need to call my parents.
After talking to my parents, they decided to come back immediately. I first used the Lucas family's connections to find an artisan who could repair the crown, then started looking for trustworthy people to investigate Michael. What I discovered was surprising. Michael used to be James's father's driver. No wonder he was so protective of the former young Master James. But he forgot that I, Lucas, am his current employer. When I returned to the villa, Michael was leisurely smoking on the sofa. Seeing me, he looked a bit flustered but quickly regained his composure.
Young Master Lucas, you're back. I had no choice earlier, don't take it to heart.
You're fired. Leave now.
I was hired by Mr. Lucas. You, a young boy, don't have the authority to fire me.
As the Lucas family's butler, you helped others falsify evidence and slander your employer. Not only will I fire you, but I'll also make sure everyone knows that hiring you as a butler is worse than hiring a dog.
You know the situation back then. James is just a kid. Even if he damaged your things, can't you just get them repaired? The Lucas family is so wealthy, can't you let it go?
I was almost amused by my own anger.
Why should I, with money, be bullied by those without?
Before I could speak, my parents pushed the door open.
He's bullying his classmates.
In response, my mother slapped him hard.
You're helping outsiders bully our precious son? Get out.
Michael covered his face, eyes wide with shock, stammering as he tried to explain.
My parents aren't fools. Did you really think they would side with an outsider like you? Michael, when you called me a liar in front of everyone, you didn't have this expression.
Michael tried to argue further, but my parents had no patience for his nonsense and had the security guards throw him out. Just then, news came from the company that they had found an artisan capable of restoring the Phoenix crown. However, he was elderly and currently abroad, unable to return. I had to take the outfit overseas for restoration myself. Without delay, I set off alone with the Phoenix crown. The restoration process went surprisingly smoothly. Despite the crown being damaged multiple times, the master craftsman, with his dedicated efforts, restored it to its former glory in just 3 months. Meanwhile, the dragon robe left behind for restoration also went through several challenges but was eventually restored. A huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. Next, it was time to confront James, the street dance champion. After some investigation, I discovered that on the night of the graduation party, various media outlets were already waiting in the audience. As soon as James took the stage, they would start filming, creating buzz and increasing exposure. Once the timing was right, James could directly enter the entertainment industry.
No wonder James was so eager to get me off the stage back then. After all, how could street dance compare to the national essence of China? He resented that I had once been with Emily and feared that I would steal the spotlight from his performance.
Although there was a mishap at the time, with the strong support of the James family, he still gained considerable backing. I watched James being interviewed in front of the camera, a slight smile curling my lips.
Smile while you can. Soon, you won't be able to smile at all.
To increase his exposure, James was recently participating in a youth campus reality show funded by the James family. I signed up too. When he saw me backstage, James didn't recognize me at all. Because I was in full makeup, looking completely different from my usual self. But even without recognizing me, James wouldn't miss any chance to mock a traditional opera performer.
Come and see, doesn't this one look just like that Lucas we bullied last time?
You know, it really does. Didn't Lucas say that outfit was worth millions? Looks like they're everywhere.
Ridiculous. He dares to say it. And you believe it? Just a sissy performer.
As he spoke, James disdainfully pushed me.
Hey, tell me honestly, how much is your outfit worth?
More than your life.
James's face instantly stiffened.
What do you mean? Are you human or ghost? Who sent you?
Long time no see, James.
You're Lucas? How dare you show up again? Emily said she had taught you a lesson and would never let you appear again. What are you doing here?
Really? It seems your dear Emily is just humoring you. She can't touch me, Lucas.
Get out of here! You're not welcome!
At this moment, the director, Oliver, came over with a stack of fruit plates, taking small, hurried steps. James reached out to take them, but Oliver handed the plates to me instead.
Mr. Lucas, please refresh your throat. Our conditions here are poor, and we apologize for any inconvenience.
Why haven't we started yet?
The director immediately scurried away as if he had received an imperial decree.
All departments, get ready. Mr. Lucas has given the word. Start immediately.
James and his group were dumbfounded, their eyes nearly popping out.
Come back here! I didn't say to start! What are you filming for?
The director turned back, his face cold as ice.
I only follow Mr. Lucas's instructions. You who got in by paying have no right to boss us around.
Look closely, my dad invested $5 million.
The director, seeing his furious expression, snorted coldly and directly ordered the crew to start the live broadcast. James had specifically taken the first performance slot to gain fame. At this moment, despite his raging anger, he could only hold it in and wait obediently for the show to start. However, his teammates were whispering among themselves.
The director listens to Lucas so much. Could Lucas really have some powerful connections?
Who knows? Maybe he got involved in some shady deals to get famous, you know.
They exchanged knowing looks while speaking animatedly. James stood among them, his face dark with anger. Seizing the last moment before going on stage, he glared at me viciously.
Lucas, I don't care what tricks you used. After my performance, you're done for.
You won't make it to the end of the performance.
James didn't understand the meaning behind my words as the music started. He had no time to argue with me and led his team onto the stage with flips and acrobatics. They landed steadily, instantly winning applause from the audience.
I've heard about James. He won awards abroad, quite famous.
He's so talented even before graduation, and he's the eldest son of the James family. His future is limitless.
That must be James in middle. He's quite handsome too.
Watching their confident smiles, I waved to the director. Instantly, the lights went out, and the music stopped. Moments later, the music for The Drunken Beauty began to play. Under a spotlight, I stepped onto the stage, moving to the rhythm, standing before everyone. The perfect lighting, combined with my elaborate costume, dazzled the audience. But soon, someone noticed something was off.
Wasn't the first act supposed to be James's street dance? What's going on? Did they switch acts?
James hasn't performed yet. Who is this trying to steal the spotlight?
A performer? Who watches performances these days? This is ridiculous.
Before their words could settle, a knowledgeable audience member shouted.
That's Master May's costume. Oh my, I never thought I'd see this drunken beauty costume in my lifetime.
This appearance, it's so similar. Is this a disciple of the May school? How come I've never heard of them?
We might not have heard of the person, but I've heard of that phoenix crown. It's said to be priceless.
Amidst the chatter, James and his team's faces turned pale. Ignoring their stunned expressions, I followed the music, singing and dancing.
The moon rises over the sea.
I've practiced this piece since I was a child, performing it countless times. With the movement of my water sleeves and the opening of my fan, every expression and gesture was perfect. Soon, the time for a whole performance had passed, and the audience, knowledgeable about the art, began to murmur.
Why doesn't this consort have any maids?
What nonsense, aren't there a few oddly dressed male maids serving behind her?
James, who had been reluctant to leave the stage, was trembling with anger. He pointed at me and cursed.
Lucas, who the heck gave you the right to steal my performance time?
I gave him a provocative smile.
You went through all that trouble to get into this show, but for me, it was just a word. So, if I want to take it, I take it. I don't need anyone's permission.
James had spent 3 months preparing his street dance routine, but he never got to perform. Not only him, but even his teammates, who usually followed him without question, noticed something was off.
James, what's going on? Didn't you say following you would make us famous?
Aren't you the eldest son of the James family? Why isn't Lucas afraid of you, and neither is the director?
Say something. We've been learning from you for so long. You owe us an explanation.
James's mind seemed unable to process the blow he had received. Filled with rage, he didn't think twice before punching the leading boy. That boy, who had snatched my phoenix crown earlier, wasn't one to take it lying down. He immediately fought back. I sat in front of the mirror, removing my makeup, watching them fight like dogs, feeling immensely satisfied. After a long brawl, they finally remembered me, the instigator. James pushed everyone aside and stormed towards me.
Lucas, what did you do?
I looked up slightly, enjoying his frantic expression.
You little maid, how dare you speak to me like that?
Hearing my veiled reference to the earlier stage incident, James was furious. He lunged at me, but the security guards quickly pinned him down.
James, our Lucas, is the heir of the Lucas family. You can't touch him.
Watching him struggle desperately, I slowly crouched down and gently patted his flushed face.
James, when you destroyed my collection, you should have known this day would come.
James struggled like a fish out of water.
Impossible! I don't believe it! Emily said you're just a poor student.
I raised an eyebrow and punched James hard.
In your mind, do ordinary people deserve to be humiliated and bullied by you?
James defiantly shouted.
You ordinary people are born to be trampled and enslaved by us rich folks. I'll bully whoever I don't like.
I quietly listened to his rant and then punched him again.
Well, James, in my eyes, you're just an ordinary person too. This punch is for all the ordinary people.
James's cheeks swelled up, and his eyes were filled with hatred.
Just wait, I'll destroy you.
James's so-called way of destroying me was to post a long rant online. He claimed that I, Lucas, was uneducated, bullied classmates, and used my family background to ruin his performance and bully others backstage. For a while, I became the focus of online attention.
I saw his performance as the drunken consort. He seemed fine, but who knew he was so malicious behind the scenes?
Do masters not care about character anymore? This really tarnishes traditional art.
Disgusting. This malicious person is the heir of the Lucas family. I'll boycott this company from now on.
I looked at the content, feeling a bit speechless.
Since they already know I'm the sole heir of the Lucas family, instead of begging for mercy, they're spreading rumors and slander online. James, having an opponent like you is truly embarrassing.
I quickly found the video from the school anniversary and posted a high-definition restored version, adding a note below.
I, Lucas, never bully anyone unless it's James.
Soon, someone watched the entire video and became a master summarizer, explaining the cause and effect clearly. In just one night, the online sentiment changed.
James is such a bully. How could he do that?
I'm so angry at Lucas. Hasn't the damage to personal property been reported yet?
Doing such harmful things to enter the entertainment industry. Why hasn't he been banned yet?
I smiled as I read the comments and replied.
The case has been filed and the damage assessed. I wonder if the James family will choose to protect this son or declare bankruptcy on the spot.
With my reply, the netizens became even more enthusiastic.
Oh my. Young Master Lucas replied to me. He's so approachable.
An eye for an eye. We can't let someone as malicious as James continue to run rampant.
I had just put down my phone when there was a sudden urgent knock on the door. Oh, it was my ex-girlfriend, Emily. Seeing me, she smiled ingratiatingly.
Lucas, I didn't know your identity before, so I made some mistakes. Now I know you're the heir of the Lucas family. My past actions were presumptuous. Can you be magnanimous and forgive James?
What, is James unable to come himself?
Emily seemed to recall something, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead.
Young Master Lucas, you're so perceptive. Indeed, his leg is injured.
This was somewhat unexpected, but before I could ask, James's parents also arrived. Seeing me standing at the door, they quickly approached with fawning expressions.
Young Master Lucas, that ungrateful son committed an unforgivable crime. We've already given him a severe beating, and he's still in hospital. Please, be magnanimous and forgive him this once.
Looking at their desperate pleas, I couldn't help but recall the night the Phoenix crown was destroyed. At that time, I was already in a sorry state. Why couldn't anyone show me mercy? If I were just an ordinary person, would they have realized their mistake? No, they wouldn't. They just understood that they were finished.
James's matter will be handled according to the law. He might not get a severe penalty, but he definitely won't escape a life sentence.
Instantly, James's mother burst into tears. But his father seemed more rational. Standing at the bottom of the steps, he trembled as he spoke.
Can the feud between your family and James not implicate our family business?
Your good son bullied me under your name. What do you think?
Hearing this, his parents suddenly seemed to collapse, falling limp at my doorstep. I was about to leave when I suddenly remembered something and turned to Emily.
Almost forgot about you. Don't bother helping your in-laws. I won't spare your family either.
Lucas, don't be so overbearing.
This is called an eye for an eye.
With that, I turned and left under their hateful gazes. Not long after, James received a life sentence. The following month, the Joe and Pay families declared bankruptcy simultaneously. No one thought I was ruthless because of this. Instead, everyone praised my actions as just. I quickly took over the family business, managing the company while also starting a traditional performing arts variety show. Due to the previous attention, many people watched a few episodes even if they weren't interested, and soon, they fell in love with traditional performances. They said it was the awakening of the genes left by our ancestors. I used this momentum to promote traditional culture, not just opera, but also integrating intangible cultural heritage, traditional medicine, and various interesting segments into the show. I believe that in the future, no artist will be interrupted as soon as they appear.